Hello, this is Authentic Leadership, creating your identity as a leader in a conference recap. I'm delighted to be here. I'm Dr. Julie Thiel, a pharmacist, and I work for the Department of Health Services as a health unit supervisor, overseeing a multidisciplinary team responsible for three main programming areas: birth defects prevention and surveillance, which includes the Wisconsin Birth Defects Registry and the Wisconsin Birth Defects Council, and the newborn screening program, which works to ensure that the nearly 60,000 babies born in Wisconsin each year are offered heart, hearing, and blood screening. And the third program area is children and youth with special healthcare needs, looking at healthcare access and supports for families. It's a joy to be presenting today with Sophia Castillo.
And I'm Sophia Castillo. I'm a third-year PharmD student at UW-Madison, a drug information intern, and a student researcher on the translational side of psychedelic-assisted therapy. We do not have any relevant financial relationships to disclose to you, but following this session, our hope is that you will become more in touch with your own personal values, leadership styles, and be able to consider these in the creation of a short-term and a long-term career goal that is intended to ultimately serve you.
We also are hoping that today you'll take time for personal reflection to apply creative strategies to your day-to-day life that can be incorporated into your professional life. Finding time for creative endeavors helps us feel energized for our professional work. And speaking of professionalism, our final learning objective is to identify continuing professional development opportunities that you would like to explore. During the PSW annual conference, there were plenty of opportunities for connecting, learning, and sharing innovative practice ideas. Our session today includes built-in silent reflection time, ideas to bring to your practice site for discussion, ideas for furthering your professional involvement, as well as a recap of the conference. With these learning objectives in mind, we created a worksheet to help capture your thoughts and ideas while listening to our presentation. The worksheet can be found in the PSW app under our presentation, and Sophia will get us started.
To start off, I wanted to acknowledge that we are part of a growing profession. There is a 6% anticipated growth rate in the next decade for pharmacy technicians and a 3% anticipated growth rate in the next decade for pharmacists. So just by numbers alone, this is a growing profession. And growth in the profession opens up a lot of opportunities for innovative, intentional leadership growth as well. But practicing in a growing landscape can come with some growing pains. From the 2022 National Pharmacist Workforce Study, some common trends identified across pharmacy practice settings, including independent community pharmacies, chain pharmacies, inpatient hospital settings, and ambulatory care practices, are reported on this slide as part of the current landscape in practice. The pink bubble in the top left captures trends related to people and labor. The light blue and dark blue bubbles below that relate to organizational culture. And of course, some of these trends can be supportive, like with more well-being and resiliency strategies integrated into the workplace. And the orange-yellow bubble on the right half of the slide relates to tasks at work. And many of these reported components of workplace culture can create a more stressful environment than you would prefer to practice in. But having an awareness of these growth opportunities that are felt and shared across the community can make all the difference in managing and overcoming some of these challenges. As far as what is directly in your power, taking the initiative to reconnect with yourself and your practice will really help you remember your unique purpose in this profession and why you selected to be a part of it. So our focus today will be on empowering all of you professionals on the individual level to really drive the desired changes in your everyday practice. Even in this ever-changing landscape with new challenges, demands, and opportunities, committing to practices that help ground you is as important as ever. And these practices can really help structure your professional life in a way that is authentic to your identity.
So part of today's discussion is differentiating between management and leadership. Management relates to having a formal title, such as director, supervisor, or lead. A management role involves organizing, planning, and focusing on the work. What about leadership? I want us to expand our idea of who is a leader. Each of us can show up to work as a leader each and every day, no matter our title and regardless of role. Leadership is not defined by title, as all of us have the ability to influence and inspire those around us within our families, teams, work organization, and communities. Leadership is all of us as pharmacy professionals using our individual talents to help patients, to help our coworkers, and to strengthen our communities. Leadership is about focusing on the people around us. I want to recognize that you are a pharmacy leader. The first learning assessment question is true or false. Only pharmacy staff with the titles of manager, director, supervisor, or lead technician are considered leaders. The correct answer is false because formal titles are not required to be a leader. So we will use this space together to consider this idea that each of us is a leader. Take a moment to consider the ways that you are a leader in your work role. Next, so we have the same shared understanding, let's review the dictionary's definition of authenticity. Authenticity is real, actual, not imitation, and true to one's own personality, spirit, or character. In essence, it's being yourself. With this definition in mind, our pharmacy profession needs each of us to be true to our spirits, honoring our uniqueness, passions, and interests. Our incoming PSW President Ryan Miller shares, commit to being present, engaged, and passionate about what matters to you. Now we'll move on to authentic leadership theory. You can see from the list here that there are 5 components: purpose, heart, relationships, self-discipline, and values. Purpose, what is your why? What is it about your role that is meaningful to you? Heart, do you care about the people that you work with and work for? Does your heart show up with empathy and compassion? Relationships, building relationships takes patience, time, and trust. Self-discipline, when things get hard, are you able to keep showing up and being resilient? Are you able to set goals and focus in on them? And finally, values. Leading authentically includes understanding your personal values and incorporating them into your leadership style. So Sophia will cover both of these topics shortly. If there's one takeaway from our presentation today, I hope it's this slide. These 5 elements directly attribute to creating your identity as an authentic leader. We care about the work that we do. We care about those around us. We work together as a team and overcome challenges. And we understand who we are and what we value. Using this time and space together, Sophia and I thought it would be helpful for you to learn a little bit more about each of us and hear how our values have influenced our pharmacy leadership journeys. Last year, the 2 of us met at the PSW annual meeting, and we found that we had shared professional interests, including leadership, volunteerism, and mental health. And as we put this presentation together and did our own self-reflection, we thought we would share a few of our stories with you and how our leadership identity has been shaped. I'll pass it over to Sophia so you can hear her story.
Yes, I can start by sharing more about myself. I mentioned being a third-year pharmacy student at UW-Madison, and I also have experience as a pharmacy technician and intern. But overall, I would say that my identity as a leader is very much still developing. Of course, a lot of people might also say that, but I've already found that professional growth is an ongoing process, especially in this profession that comes with a lifetime of learning and change. As a current student, I often try to look ahead to anticipate what could be coming next in practice and really tailoring my current involvement to develop the skills that I'm passionate about and could see being important for me to have. But of course, the only constant in life is that there will be change, and there's no way to perfectly predict what might be ahead for me or for this profession. A lot of pharmacists, technicians, residents, and fellows that I've worked with have told me that the way that they are practicing pharmacy in their current role is nothing like what they expected when they first entered the profession. It's always so interesting to me to see that there are new pharmacy practice areas or roles that historically have not existed. And as I look ahead and seek mentorship and even reflect on my own experiences so far, I realize that no level of preparation will prevent me from facing change. but making room for personal and professional development at this stage in my journey will equip me to better manage what is ahead and remind me why I chose pharmacy and why I should continue to choose pharmacy. During my time in pharmacy school, I've become increasingly involved in advocacy, volunteering, research, and pursuing student organization involvement, but I have not always been this involved. In my undergraduate years, I was in a pre-health student organization, and I remember discussing leadership opportunities in practice for healthcare professionals and the importance of quality leadership, especially in the context of patient care. I remember being really inspired during those sessions and thinking it was awesome that we have people to do that. But I never quite thought that I could also become one of the people to do that. By spending time with pharmacy professionals who've been gracious and vulnerable enough to share that their own leadership had developed over time with experience, I realized that professionals aren't necessarily born as leaders, but leadership develops with intentional action over time. And on the slide, I included a picture from the day of my white coat ceremony, which was a special day for a lot of reasons. But that was when I first started to really perceive myself as someone who could learn to lead in pharmacy. And I will pass it back to you, Dr. Thiel.
Great. Thanks, Sophia. That was wonderful hearing your story. My professional journey started 26 years ago, and this was a special moment for me. It was my graduation day from UW-Madison in Memorial Union for a special awards ceremony. And we were one of the first classes that graduated in the new Cole Center in 1998. It was also the year that PSW was formed. So looking back and looking forward is key to staying motivated. So at this moment, I'll just look back and share with you how my core personal value of learning has been a thread throughout my career. This core value of learning has influenced many of my career decisions, as well as my personal interest in decisions that I make around volunteering. One of my first decisions starting my career was starting as a community pharmacist to help patients learn about their medications. The next major life change for me was moving to California a couple years after graduating. I started as a float pharmacist and one day floated to the district training store in San Francisco. And I knew that that was the store for me. This core value of learning and teaching really resonated with me. And I had heard that there may be a pharmacy manager position opening up. I shared with the district manager why this location was a great fit for me, along with my willingness to learn how to become an HIV pharmacist, as well as my willingness to learn and grow as a pharmacy manager. I got the job, and that was my first time with a formal management title. My core value of learning has shown up in other places as well. Back in 2012 through 2015, I decided to go back for my Doctor of Pharmacy degree as a non-traditional Doctor of Pharmacy student. Another area that this core value of learning has shown up has been setting up API rotations at my work sites and becoming a clinical instructor. It also shows up in how I spend my time volunteering. So currently I'm serving on the PSW Educational Programming Advisory Committee, as well as the PSW Board of Directors. These are just a few examples of how my personal value of learning has shaped my personal identity. So defining your leadership identity through reflection, discussion, and conference inspiration is our hope for today. So with that in mind, I think looking back, there's always a chance that we'll encounter a few bumps along our professional path, and that's normal to encounter roadblocks, barriers, and challenges. And looking back, I can share a pivotal moment in my journey. As I mentioned, I was a new pharmacy manager in San Francisco, and in the city, pharmacies were just like tucked into different buildings. There wasn't like a separate building for the pharmacy. So one of the spaces that I managed, there were apartments above us. And one night I was at home and I received a phone call from the store manager letting me know that the pharmacy had flooded. The person above us who lived in an apartment was taking a bath and the pipe broke and water came pouring through the ceiling down into the pharmacy, into our counting machine and our filling areas. And I remember at the time picking up the phone and thinking, I'm not sure what to do. So I didn't do anything. And when I got to work the next morning, that was my aha moment. Leadership is taking action and showing up when it's needed. And my mistake was that I didn't show up, even when I didn't know what to do. So, this pivotal moment for me has really shaped me as a leader. I may not always have the answers, but I can show up. I can show up and ask my team for help, and I can ask people what they need. So, questions that I ask myself now when action is needed, I ask myself, am I showing up? Am I talking to staff? Am I supporting them? And am I asking them what they need? So, with this in mind, when we make mistakes, be gracious in everything that you do. Extend grace to yourself when you make a mistake. If you can extend grace to yourself, you'll be able to do it for others. And this is from Hannah, who is our outgoing PSW president and our new PSW board chair. So I'll pass it back over to Sophia.
And along with humility and growth, there are many other values on this slide that you may resonate with. Our values ultimately capture what we feel drawn to, and many experiences in our personal and professional lives are rooted in our values, whether we realize it or not. And these values can really fuel our practice. Some values on the slide may call to you, and some may not, but I encourage you to pause this recording and take 1 minute for silent reflection to consider your values. And you also may want to write down some values that you feel strongly about on your handout. At least for me, I had some difficulties actually naming my values. So I looked into some theories related to values and even learned about how other professionals identified their values. The Schwartz theory is based on surveys capturing information from over 60,000 people. This theory basically just poses that there are 10 basic values that are universal and recognized across all cultures. These 10 values are captured on this slide, and I will review some of these values in more detail in just a few moments. As I reviewed some common leadership styles, I then noticed how many leadership styles seem to be expressions of values, as from the previous slide. And of course, there are many other leadership styles beyond what is included on this slide. But these leadership styles I did include were studied for their impact on nurse job satisfaction. So, not pharmacy professionals, but nurses often work and collaborate as part of the interdisciplinary team in settings where many pharmacy professionals work. So, I thought that this was still interesting and relevant. First, transformational leaders inspire and engage others in shared goals while really empowering them to accomplish more than they would have initially expected of themselves. So I paired this leadership style with the Schwartz value of stimulation, as stimulation relates to a value for variety, challenges, and engaging yourself or others with goals to work towards. Next, transactional leaders really apply a defined leader and follower structure that has a system of rewards and punishments. I paired transactional leadership with power, as power relates to a value for status or having a sense of control, such as having control over people or resources. Laissez-faire leadership can be considered an absence of leadership, and that laissez-faire leaders prompt others to figure things out on their own with minimal guidance. The Schwartz value of self-direction aligns well with this style, and self-direction relates to a value for freedom, such as by exploring, creating, and really choosing your own goals and pursuits. Servant leaders listen to others to tailor their involvement to the people in their community and really focus on building up the others around them first. Benevolence felt like the value that best captured this style, as benevolence relates to a value for enhancing the welfare of those in your close community. Resonant leaders prioritize emotional intelligence and apply empathy to create a climate of loyalty, really encouraging others to feel that sense of belonging. Universalism seemed to capture resonant leadership the best, as universalism relates to a value for empathy, appreciation, and really protecting the welfare of all people in nature. Passive avoidant leaders tend to be non-confrontational, often using the motto that their hands are tied, and sometimes when they do take action, it is taken too late. The value that seemed to resonate the best with this practice was conformity, as conformity relates to a value for obedience and maintaining order as we know it. And lastly, authentic leaders prioritize a direct and honest approach with a high level of transparency to really encourage open communication. Security relates to a value for safety or stability in your relationships, So a value for security bides well in this environment as everyone feels psychologically safe to really share their inputs with the team. And although there may be appropriate situations to embody all of these styles, I will note that the study related to nurse job satisfaction had the most data across publications related to transformational leadership. Transformational leadership was consistently correlated with increased job satisfaction. And this really resonated with my own experiences at inpatient and community pharmacy practice settings, really getting to share the workflow and learn from other pharmacy technicians and pharmacists who embodied a transformational leadership style made me feel connected to what I was doing and created an environment where I could accomplish more than I expected of myself. And even though it probably slowed down the workflow the first time I did it, having a pharmacist trust me and support me to complete calculations and write instructions for a compounded cereal dilution, and then walking me through the appropriate documentation really increased my confidence in myself as a pharmacy professional just by developing this one skill. Treating your colleagues like professionals really does create a community of professionals engaged in their work. So, my big picture takeaway from reviewing all of these values and their influence on leadership styles was that the manner in which you engage with others and take action or inaction will influence how motivated you and your colleagues are and how involved everyone feels in achieving shared goals. It really comes down to that concept that the people make the place.
Great, thanks, Sophia. Now that we've reviewed personal values and leadership styles, let's discuss the 5 principles of purposeful leadership. This slide is a good reminder about setting an intention. Be clear about your purpose. What is your why? Be clear about your role. What is it that you do or want to do? Be clear about whom you serve. Who are the people around you that you want to share your time with? Be driven by your values. What are your values? And be authentic. As we shared earlier, authenticity means to be real, not imitation. Being an authentic leader is being true to you. The 5 principles of purposeful leadership provides a framework to reflect on. For me, it is that feeling that I'm in the right place at the right time, doing the work that I was meant to do. Now we'll move forward with a learning assessment question. A servant leader, A, purely delegates tasks and responsibilities without self-involvement. B, focuses on elevating their team members first. C, is uninterested in gathering input from their team. And D, values team members that follow their top-down orders. The correct selection is B. A servant leader focuses on elevating their team members. A is incorrect, as a servant leader would want to be involved. C is incorrect, as a servant leader would gather input from the team. And D is incorrect, as a servant leader collaborates and puts the needs of others first. Our leadership reflection comes from PSW CEO Sarah Sorum, who role models servant leadership. She shared this quote from Robert Greenleaf, who was the founder of the modern servant leadership movement and the Greenleaf Center for Servant Leadership. Please take a moment to read the quote.
And at this time, we encourage you to pause and silently reflect for 1 minute on leadership styles that align with you and your values, or even write down a word on your handout that captures your leadership philosophy, as Sarah did with the word service. And now we ask that you take the next 5 minutes to self-reflect on the prompts on the slide related to your growth and leadership. What are some ways that you are a leader in your role? How do your values show up in your leadership style? And where are your opportunities for growth? Now, I wanted to shift our focus to talk more about goal setting, since we've mentioned keeping your goals in mind in your practice. I discussed how your values can influence your leadership style, which can ultimately influence your practice, as you can see with the dotted arrows on the slide. To more directly connect your values, leadership, and desired practice, goals can be used as a tool to develop the culture of your practice environment on the practitioner and the patient level. Setting and completing goals makes this process of influence become more guided, intentional, and actionable. And what you want to achieve at different points in your career or in different roles can vary, and so will your goals. Technicians may want to further develop specific skill sets that support their growing responsibility at their practice site, which may be achieved by earning additional certifications. Students may want to take advantage of involvement opportunities at the local campus level or the state or national level that align with their post-grad plans. Residents or fellows may want to further refine their skills or knowledge in a specific practice setting or disease state, and pursuing projects or further collaborating with professionals in those interest areas may be helpful. And pharmacists may want to tailor their CE selections to what their practice site needs additional expertise or support in, or connect with other pharmacists to exchange solutions and really implement those approaches into practice. Many of you may already be familiar with the process of setting SMART goals, but SMART goals really are a great way to direct your future accomplishments by monitoring your progress along the way and creating a plan to focus on something you actually care about while making this process feel more approachable. And as a reminder, SMART is an acronym intended to assist your goal setting. So S is specific. What actually is it that you want to achieve? M is measurable. How will you know that you are making progress towards this achievement? A is achievable. How realistic is your goal given your current resources? R is relevant. So why is this goal relevant or important to you? And T is time bound. So what time frame do you want to achieve this goal in? And for me, having that deadline can promote accountability along with sharing my goals with others for that additional layer of accountability. And of course, some goals may require more resources, energy, or time commitments than others. Having a balance of short and long-term goals can be valuable. Short-term goals can even serve as benchmarks or baby steps to accomplishing bigger long-term goals. Short-term goals may be time-bound to days, weeks, or months, whereas long-term goals may extend over years. The little up arrows that branch off the goal arrows on this slide represent goals that fall out of the picture. So goals that never actually got accomplished or just don't make sense to pursue anymore. And I really want to emphasize that this is common, normal, and okay. But I do recommend reflecting on what influenced you to not accomplish the goal that was originally set. So maybe you just didn't give yourself enough time with all of your other responsibilities that are important to you. And in this case, it might be worth it to try again with more time and guidance. Or maybe you just aren't passionate about that goal anymore because it no longer fits your practice setting in a changing landscape. Or maybe you opted to pursue something totally different that offered you a different sense of accomplishment. And this is something that I personally can relate to as I prioritize spending time on different projects or activities based on my interest for different pharmacy practice settings as I gain more exposure. So maybe I didn't meet my goal of meeting with a clinical pharmacist mentor as much as I had initially planned, but maybe it was because I realized that there are other pharmacy practice settings that I wanted experience in. So my time was instead spent simulating what a regulatory affairs pharmacist does in a local student industry competition. That new and unique experience helped me better understand the role of the FDA and other regulatory bodies that influence pharmacy practice in many different settings. And it really doesn't have to be a bad thing to not accomplish a goal because you likely just developed yourself in a different way. One of my favorite books, The Four Agreements, discusses the importance of being impeccable with your word. And I think that setting goals used to be so uncomfortable for me because I was so scared of not doing what I said that I would do, even if I was the only person who knew about my goal. But being impeccable with your word also means that instead of just focusing on what you didn't do or what went wrong, you have the ability to create a solution for yourself to really refocus your words and actions while learning more about yourself over time. And that brings us to another learning assessment. Which of the following best describes the value of goal setting? A, provides direction for next steps towards the desired trajectory. B, serves as a tool for personal and or professional development. C, offers benchmarks to better understand growth over time. Or D, all of the above. The correct selection is all of the above, as all of these options capture some benefits of goal setting. After discussing the process of setting meaningful goals, pause and take the next 10 minutes to independently curate a short-term goal and a long-term goal that align with your growth interests. And here's an example of what setting a SMART goal could look like. This example relates to growing administrative skills from the perspective of a pharmacy technician.
All right, now that you've had time to reflect on your short-term and long-term goals, let's turn to creativity strategies. Just like all of us have the potential to be leaders, all of us are creative beings. Taking time to find what inspires our creativity is part of tapping into our complexity as a human. So one of the first things that we can do is to make time and space for creativity. Scheduling time on our calendars to hold space for creative thinking, creative doing, creative being is important with our busy lives. Second, collaborating and networking with others increases our motivation and inspiration. As we learn from others, we can actively seek learning opportunities, which we'll discuss at a later point. And the last item listed on this slide is to eat well, sleep well, and to move your body daily. As we learn more about the gut-brain connection, eating well is an important part of our overall physical and mental health. And as we learn more about the healing properties of sleep, sleep is an important part of our overall health too. Sleeping well might not be possible. You might have a lot going on at work, or maybe it's one night of a big presentation like this. But when I wake up and I didn't sleep well, then I try to focus on the two other areas for the day. And maybe accomplishing two of the three is a win for the day. I know when I was a brand new parent, achieving one of the three felt like a good day. And if I happened to get two or three, then it was an amazing day. So other creative strategies that might speak to you include writing down on your worksheet the ones that you find that are interesting. So the ones listed here are maybe finding a hobby. So developing a hobby is a nice way for your coworkers to get to know you, as well as for you to find something that's special outside of work. I know I really appreciated when my coworker had a passion for gardening, and he would bring in the extra vegetables for team members to take home. Another coworker was very artistic, and she would make homemade cards for people's birthdays. So that was really special, bringing their hobbies to work and getting to know them that way. Another idea or strategy is giving your mind a break. So a break for you might be a run outside, or maybe walk in nature, or maybe it's singing in a choir or doing something with a group. But giving time for an open mind and clearing your mind for other things helps us generate new ideas. Maybe a creativity piece would be writing in a journal, or maybe developing a vision board. And finally, trying something new is a great way to explore wonder and delight. This quote is from Amanda, who's our outgoing PSW Technician Section Board President. I'm grateful for my family, my friends, my continued ability to advocate and learn within my profession, and all the travel and hobbies I've been able to enjoy this past year. I think this is a beautiful reflection that incorporates gratitude, appreciation, professional development, as well as taking a break from work through hobbies and travel. All right, so how can we bring this creativity into our work setting? One idea is to approach problems with curiosity. Reframing the issue and approach from a new perspective can be helpful. Another way to be creative at work is by bringing in coworkers and letting them help problem solve with you. Hearing a wide range of ideas may increase solutions and generate shared motivation, which also helps create teamwork. And the next idea is to network and learn from others. The conference is a great example, as we had a lot of opportunities to learn from each other during all the learning section. And the next idea took me a little bit to learn throughout my journey as a pharmacy professional, but trying to make work enjoyable. It is important to find joy in our day-to-day work, and making work enjoyable creates an openness to possibilities. And then lastly, sharing your goals with others, with your family, your friends, and your coworkers. Finding other people that can help support you in reaching your goals and help keep you motivated.
And on that note, we ask you to pause and take 1 minute to silently reflect on creative strategies that honor your professional and personal purposes, or document ideas on your handout that just sound like opportunities that you would be open to trying. And after that self-reflection, take the next 5 minutes to further reflect on the following questions. How does your leadership style contribute to problem solving at work? What strengths and values do you bring to your team? And feel free to note ways that you've approached challenges in pharmacy practice by applying critical thinking, creative solutions, fresh ideas, unique skills, or personal interests.
All right, our last main learning objective is continuing professional development. I'm sure many of you are familiar with professional development and this idea of continuing to learn and grow throughout our careers. For all of us, our personal growth journey involves many phases. This PSW graphic of the ladder of membership involvement has been very beneficial for me throughout my career. It outlines 3 different levels or phases of involvement with PSW. The first level is just getting acquainted with PSW and dipping your toes in. And a few ideas include reading the journal or Friday Fact Facts. Another way to get involved is attending the various meetings, such as the annual meeting. The second level is getting a little more active, maybe joining a PSW member meetup group, maybe publishing an article for the journal, or reaching out and getting to know a PSW board member. Another great way to become more active is nominating a colleague for a PSW award or signing up to be a presenter at one of the conferences. And then the third level is really becoming a leader and stepping into leadership roles. There's an opportunity for pharmacists within the first 15 years of their career to apply for the Leadership Pharmacy Conference. Other ideas include running for a position on the PSW board or technician board, or serving as a chair of one of our committees. So our engagement level may change over time as our professional lives are impacted by what is going on in our personal lives. And I know personally for me, when I became a new parent, I had to dial back my membership in PSW, but there's many opportunities when you're ready to step back up and climb up that ladder of membership involvement. So our next learning assessment question is a fill in the blank. PSW's blank outlines the 3 different phases of continuing professional development. The answer is the ladder of membership involvement. Let's talk about continuous professional development, CPD. It involves lifelong learning, which can help us stay motivated throughout our careers. So why is it important? It helps us build competence, it enhances our professional practice, and it helps us achieve our career goals. So how can we look for different CPD opportunities? I have 2 listed here, as the Accreditation Council for Pharmacy Education is the accrediting body for schools and colleges of pharmacy, as well as setting standards for pharmacy professionals' continuing education. ACPE sets standards to ensure that graduates are practice ready, team ready, and can be entrusted professionals. I also have listed the Pharmacy Society of Wisconsin, PSW. PSW offers a variety of opportunities, as we talked about earlier, for professional development. So as Sophia mentioned, oftentimes it's helpful to try and align our continuous professional development activities with our values, our leadership philosophy, as well as our career goals. You might be looking at a residency program, maybe looking at different professional organizations that align with your interests. There's many organizations within the state as well as at the national level. Maybe your work environment has opportunities for you to learn and grow as well. And then there's certifications, continuing education, as well as a variety of conferences. So there's many different ways to expand and explore. I wanted to make sure that we highlight the events that PSW is offering for 2025. I know when I worked in a hospital pharmacy, this time of year, we started to put in our requests for the next upcoming year. So here's a few dates that you can place holds or put in vacation requests for 2025. So I encourage you to pause here and just make a note of all these offerings coming up in 2025. There also are many different advisory committees that you can become more involved with PSW. Usually involvement for the committees requests will come out in the late spring. But if you go to the website and want to learn more about each committee, you're more than welcome to reach out to the committee chair and find out more information. Additionally, PSW offers different member meetups, podcasts, and PSW networks. So there's a variety of ways to get more involved. There also is the technician section board as well as board of directors.
And here is our final learning assessment. A leadership journey includes which of the following? A, trying new things. B, developing new skill sets. C, following your own personal interests. D, integrating your values and leadership style into your practice setting. Or E, all of the above. The correct selection is all of the above, as trying new things, building new skill sets, and honoring your interests, values, and leadership styles can all be components of a leadership journey. After discussing the benefits of getting involved and highlighting specific opportunities through PSW, we encourage you to take note of future events that you would also enjoy. And with the reminder that sharing your goals makes you more likely to accomplish them, we invite you to share something that you want to learn more about, a future event that you want to attend, or something else that you are working towards with someone in your life. And as we wrap up, we encourage you to give yourself credit for your unique values, leadership philosophies, expertise, creative approaches, and commitment to developing yourself professionally, which is evident just by you listening to this recording. The opportunities for connection, collaboration, and forward thinking are some of my favorite things about PSW annual meetings. And feeling like I'm a part of something bigger than anything I could accomplish alone is one of the most rewarding parts of engaging with this community for me. And I will pass it back to Dr. Thiel.
I wanted to take a moment to thank and acknowledge all the different pharmacy professionals that shared their time and talents to put their presentations together. There were a wide variety of sessions offered during the annual meeting, and these couple of slides show the wide range of topics that we had, and we have such amazing presenters throughout the conference. So just really want to thank the presenters for their time, as well as PSW for setting up the annual meeting. So thinking about next steps, continuing education reminders, log into Lecture Panda to claim your continuing education credits. And don't forget, there were a couple sessions that were recorded on demand that are listed there that you can log in to watch.
And we hope that you continue to identify as a pharmacy leader and exchange your insights with other professionals to move this profession forward. Incorporating your values into your goals, leadership, and practice environment can shape a better culture for everyone. Echoing Ryan's insights on this slide, I want to reinforce that your voice truly matters, and so does your presence and participation, as advancing pharmacy practice truly takes a village, but we are all part of that village. And that is what we wanted to leave you with today. We welcome you to stay connected with us after this session, and you can do so by reaching out by email or scanning the QR codes on this slide for our LinkedIn profiles. And here is our CE code for this session. Thank you.
Thank you.